So this is the third video in a four-part series dealing with the four essential skills that a system operator, in my opinion, needs to have in order to be able to become successful. In the first video, we talked about how the operator needs to be able to multitask the different inputs that they may receive. The second video dealt with organizing and prioritizing those inputs according to its urgency and importance. Now in this third video, I'm going to talk about situational awareness. This is a topic often discussed in control rooms, but never quite fully explained. Over the years, I have always tried to figure out and understand what situational awareness actually means and what it entails within any given control room environment. I have seen it, I've applied it, but to explain it, and better yet, to be able to teach it to somebody, is really what has escaped my understanding for many years. So now, given the experience that I've had, I will try my best to make an attempt to try to explain it and hopefully provide a path to other operators on how to actually develop it and improve it. So let's start from the very beginning. What exactly is situational awareness? If we break down that word and define each word according to Webster's dictionary, we'll find the following. Situational, as defined by Webster, is as relating to or dependent on a set of circumstances or state of affairs. And awareness in Webster is defined as knowledge or perception of a situation or fact. So according to Webster's dictionary, situational awareness is having the knowledge or perception of a set of circumstances or state of affairs. So what does this mean exactly? So back in 2017, the North American Reliability Corporation, or NERC, published a reliability guideline detailing what situational awareness is and how it relates to control room environments. The basis of this document stems from a research paper titled Toward a Theory of Situational Awareness in Dynamic Systems. This document was written by a lady by the name of Micah Ensley, and it was published in a journal called Human Factors back in 1995. So the following is a graphic that NERC adapted from Micah's work. And what NERC did is they utilized Micah's original diagram and they modified it, simplified it a little bit, in order to help operators understand what situational awareness entails. The following is that graphic. So instead of just relying on a graphic to be able to explain what situational awareness actually is, I would much rather go a little bit deeper into Micah's actual journal, actual work that she published. So diving deeper, according to Micah Ensley, in her document titled Toward a Theory of Situational Awareness in Dynamic Systems, she stated that, quote, situational awareness is a perception of the elements in the environment within a volume of time and space, the comprehension of their meaning, and the projection of their status in the near future. Ensley goes on to state that situational awareness is not just one state of being, but rather situational awareness comprises of three distinct levels, which are combined and utilized together as a whole. So according to Ensley, level 1 is having a perception of the elements in an environment. Level 2 is having a comprehension of the current situation. And level 3 is being able to project a future state of this situation. So if we go back to the graphic that NERC provided within its reliability guideline, we can better understand what NERC is trying to say, and according to what Micah Inslee was trying to state. You can see in the graphic on the left-hand side, we have the state of the environment. We have a situation basically on our hands. And then comprised within that bubble or square, whatever you want to call it, is the three levels pertaining to situational awareness. You've got level one, the perceptions of the elements in the current situation. You've got level two, the comprehension of the current situation. And then we've got level three, the projection of the future status. So all of this combined with what entails to be situation awareness, then the operator can move forward in making a decision. So now, let's break this down a little bit further. So according, once again, to Micah, she said that level one is having a perception of the elements in an environment. Once again, let me read it again. Level one is having a perception of the elements in an environment. Perception, elements, environment. So let's break this down a little bit further. What is perception? According to Webster's dictionary, perception is defined as the ability to see, hear, or become aware of something through the senses. Okay, that's perception. So we also have elements and environment. Now let's go to environment. For an operator, the environment that we are dealing with is clearly the control center environment. So we've got perception and we've got environment. But what about elements? What is it that we have to have the ability to see, hear, or become aware of within the control room environment? So for me, I believe that the elements are what I talked about in the previous video, the inputs that an operator receives within a control room environment. That's what I believe that the elements are. And that is where the 18 inputs come into play, and the ability to have them, to be able to multitask, to be able to receive these multiple inputs coming into the operator at once. So we have to be able to see alarms. We have to be able to see trouble tickets coming in. We have to be able to hear the audible alarms coming from a SCADA system, from some sort of OMS or ADMS distribution system. We have to be able to hear and receive radio communications, phone communications from personnel out in the field. We have to be made aware of information, any and all types coming in that is relating to the operator through the control center, through other means and forms of communication. So in other words, putting all three concepts together, perception, elements, and environment, you have to be aware of the possible inputs that you may receive for any particular event, and you have to have the skill of multitasking to be able to receive those various inputs at once if the situation causes for those inputs to come at you. With the combination of classroom and mostly on-the-job training, I believe that an operator can learn which inputs they are going to be receiving in a control room environment. So that's level one perception of situational awareness. You have to be able to take in various bits of information across various inputs at once or over the course of an event. Think of it as putting a puzzle together. In order to get a good picture and an understanding of what the puzzle is trying to show, you have to have multiple pieces of the puzzle. And you have to understand and recognize that piece of information that you are receiving, or that input that you are receiving into Control Center, as being important to being able to put that puzzle together. That is level one, situation awareness. So now, according to Inslee, level two is having a comprehension of the current situation. So let's break it down again. Going back to Webster's dictionary, comprehension is defined as the action or the capability of understanding something. So in other words, for situational awareness, you have to be able to receive the various inputs of the puzzle. That's level one. And now with level two, You have to be able to understand what is going on with the situation and know how to put those pieces of the puzzle together to be able to get the big picture. So, in order to be able to hopefully make sense of this, let's come up with a brief scenario. Let's just say it's late into Saturday night, early Sunday morning, and all of a sudden you receive a SCADA alarm for a circuit lockout and a corresponding audible alarm for this lockout. That's two pieces of information, or two inputs right there. You take a look at the timestamps and the current clock to figure out the hour and the time of day for this event. That's three inputs. You then realize the circuit, the type of circuit it is, and utilizing either some sort of OMS, ADMS, or some sort of one-line diagram, you realize where the actual circuit runs within your control room area. That's 3, 4, possibly even 5 inputs. Next, taking a look at some sort of geographical tool, or just from first-hand experience and knowledge, you realize that the circuit runs through the middle of the city and is also located minutes away from a string of restaurants and bars. That's 6 inputs. Then you get a call from law enforcement about a motor vehicle accident involving a pole at a particular address. That's 7 inputs. You do a quick search of the address using your available tools and then confirm the address to be on the particular circuit that locked out. Also, based on the information that you're able to gather, you can also confirm that there are indeed utility poles and conductors running through that particular address that could have possibly been damaged by this motor vehicle accident. That's 8, possibly 9 inputs. So now with these various inputs, the operator has different pieces of the puzzle and can now put the puzzle pieces together. So in this particular example, the operator can understand and probably guess that a person coming out of the bars late at night was probably too drunk to drive home safely, drove a little bit, lost control of the vehicle, hit and damaged a pole, which in turn caused this particular circuit to lock out. This is comprehension. Being able to receive various inputs and being able to understand the particular situation that occurred. Or in other words, receiving various pieces of the puzzle and putting the puzzle picture together. So now, according to Ensley, level 3 situational awareness pertains to having and or developing a projection of future status. So what does this mean exactly? This means that now that you know the state of the situation and understand what is happening, you're now able to picture in your mind the possibilities of what is about to occur and or what is capable of happening. So what about level 3? How do you actually gain the ability to be able to come up with a projection in your mind of what could possibly happen and or what is about to take place from here on out? I believe that in order to be able to master this level 3 future projection that Hensley is talking about, you have to utilize what I am about to present, which is the operator pyramid. You may have seen over the years various forms of pyramids developed for different aspects of life. You may have seen the food pyramid, the exercise pyramid, the wealth pyramid, the productivity pyramid, and so on. For level 3, I believe that this operator pyramid can be utilized to help the operator develop the ability to project a future status and or state of what they believe may occur or is about to happen given a current situation. So as with any pyramid, the operator pyramid consists of 4 layers. The first and bottom layer consists of foundational topics and ideas that serve as a foundation upon which everything else above it can be built upon. If this first foundational layer is not learned and understood properly, the operator may still be able to learn and understand parts of the other layers, but may not be able to fully grasp the concepts in the overall big picture that is required, and or may not be able to understand the full nature of why things are done. So for the first layer, the foundational layer, I believe that layer consists of basic electrical theory. This is typically taught on the job and or through classroom training. So what do I mean by basic electrical theory? We're talking about how electricity works from the moment it's generated at a generation station, how it's delivered out into the system through high voltage lines and substations, how it's then stepped down either to medium voltage and or low voltage substations, where it's then uh, transferred across shorter distances to be able to serve residential, industrial customers. That is one part of it. The other part of it, of course, we can talk about the balance of generation and load and frequency control, the balance of load demand and reactive reserves and reactive supply, and of course, voltage management. We can also talk about reliability aspects of it. We can also talk about um, relaying protection. We can also talk about issues and problems that may arise across each and every single aspect from the generation all the way to the actual customer's meter and how those problems may be resolved. Simple, basic, fundamental principles that can be applied to help troubleshoot and or solve a problem at any point of this um, electrical grid. I believe that this is the biggest and the most important and foundational layer of this operator pyramid. Once the operator has a good knowledge and understanding and grasps basic electrical fundamentals and theory that are required for an operator to be able to operate the grid effectively, once they have that good foundation, they can then build upon everything else and be able to understand why things are done the way they are. The second layer consists of business practices and department procedures. This is typically taught on the job as the need arises. But I highly recommend and suggest that the operator, during moments of downtime, they proactively try to read up and understand and study these practices, procedures, and or guides that are provided by the company for their own department. Third, the third layer consists of knowing the system. What do I mean by that? Understanding what voltage systems are utilized by the control center. Understanding the layouts of the circuits and where they run, how they're interconnected, and how they affect one another. Understanding the load patterns within the control center environment. You may have different industrial load centers, you may have residential load centers, you may have commercial load centers, and how the load flow characteristics according to each area change according to times, seasons, weathers, and so on and so forth. Load related considerations and issues. We're talking about, are you able to transfer load from one circuit to the next? What considerations do you have to look at when transferring load, whether it be wire size, whether it be distance, whether it be voltage related issues, whether it be connectivity issues, and so on and so forth. City and street layouts. Where do the city streets run? Which ones have a higher tendency to having large amounts of traffic? Which ones are difficult for the crews to get through? What is the distance between streets and points in the city? How far and how much time does it actually get to go from one point to the next? Simple things like that. Geography. What issues within the control room area does the field personnel have to deal with when dealing with calls, trouble, restoration, switching? Geography sometimes plays a part when it comes to switching and dealing with real-time system emergencies. all of these things that I consider to be quote quote knowing the system is something that is learned by repetition on the job. This is where experience plays a large part and a large role in this. The longer the amount of time that an operator spends on a job, the more the operator will get to experience, see, understand, and learn about the actual system. Also, a key element in really getting to learn this third layer is a combination of motivated learning and being observant for patterns. A lot of these things for field guys, field personnel that come into the control room may be secondhand, may have already been learned through years of field experience. But for those who don't have the field experience, a considerable amount of time, energy, and effort will have to be put in to be able to watch, observe, and study the actual system. And finally, the fourth layer consists of knowing and learning any external factors that may have an impact on system-related issues within the control room area and or environment and or system. So that could be weather patterns. It could be weather systems that the control room actually deals with on a seasonal basis, yearly basis. It could be practices by neighboring entities, whether it be a balancing authority, transmission operator, reliability coordinator, what their operating procedures and practices are. Any type of equipment and or equipment issues and or losses of devices, reactive devices and or loss of generation from outside companies in which the control room may be interconnected with, how that may also play a role and an effect of the actual system that the operator has to deal with. External company personnel issues. Let's just say there's an independent power producer that may not have staff on hand should something happen with that independent power producer. You may have to deal with contractors and those personnel related issues that may affect your ability to be able to restore and may affect the time frame of restoration. Things like this that may or may not have an immediate impact on the real-time system conditions and operating processes. But over time, the operator is able to see and encounter these one-offs, these individual unique situations that occur every once in a while that eventually over time will help the operator to develop a better big picture overview of how things outside of the control room operators ability or outside of the operator's ability control area can actually impact the operator and the system that the operator manages. So those are the three levels, in my opinion, of situational awareness. Level 1, level 2, and level 3 with the operator pyramid that I suggested. So how is mastery of each of these levels acquired? So in my opinion, level 1 is mastery is acquired through on-the-job training and or classroom training. This is where the operator gets shown what the different inputs that they're going to be receiving are. They're going to be able to see it over the course of their shift. And over time, they will be able to naturally pick up and understand. I believe that for mastery of level 1, repetition is the key. So for level 2, I believe that level 2 is based on experience. In other words, as the operator gets exposed to various inputs throughout their shift and over the course of their career, they'll eventually then be able to make sense of these various inputs and be able to understand what they mean. The main focus on level 2 is essentially pattern recognition. So once a certain string of events and inputs come into the control center, the operator can then be able to see these patterns develop over time over the situation by seeing them over and over and over again. And then the operator is able to put the pieces of the puzzle together much faster in a much clearer manner. So pattern recognition is key to be able to master level 2. For level 3, is being able to utilize this operator pyramid and be able to master and understand each of the different levels of this operator pyramid. Once the operator puts in the time, energy, effort, and just through a course of time and being patient and experiencing things that may or may not occur frequently within a control room environment. It is with time, energy, effort, and patience that then the operator is able to more fully understand each of the four levels of the operator pyramid. And utilizing these concepts in this operator pyramid is then able to grab all that knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and experience and be able to then project a future status of what may occur within any given situation. So, going back to the little scenario that I provided with that car hitting a pole, now with level 3 situational awareness, now the operators can be able to project in their mind that, okay, now that we know that a car hit that pole and locked out that circuit, now the operator can understand with basic electrical theory. Now they can understand that, hey, that pole, once that car hit that pole, one of two things either happen. It probably caused the phases to slap with each other, causing relay protection to trip, and or if it causing a face-to-face fault and causing that relay protection to trip that circuit, and or possibly cause the wire to come down, causing a face-to-ground fault, also activating this relay protection to trip that breaker. Number two, now given and understanding the operating process and procedures in the control room environment, the operator now is able to understand that what's probably going to end up happening is that we're probably going to have a crews come in to be able to replace that pole. But to be able to replace that pole safely, isolation switching will probably have to be done. Now, using the third layer of the operator pyramid, now the operator can understand that, hey, given the nature and the location of where this accident occurred, and given that it's late at night, loading issues is probably not going to be a concern. They're probably going to be able to switch that circuit out and isolate that pole without any issues or any problems. The operator now, understanding the system, can take a look and see, you know what, this part of the circuit can be transferred over here, that part of the circuit can be transferred over here, we can cut jumpers here, we can isolate, possibly open up a switch over here, isolate this area, and be able to restore everybody back up. That is utilizing the third level of the operator pyramid. And also understanding the system, taking a look at the section in the area that will remain out and de-energized while the crews replace that pole, the operator can then take a look and realize, hey, you know what, we've probably got commercial customers that are going to be affected. We're probably going to have, who knows, maybe customers with automatic transfer switches that have to be taken a look at after the fact once we restore power, make sure that the auto transfer switches are back to their normal operating state. We probably might have, who knows, we might have some customers with critical illness within that time that may have to be notified and or, may be able to help that they're going to be affected by this outage. Little things like that. That once the operator knows the system, they'll be able to put all those pieces together and be able to act and make the decisions accordingly, according to this, situation, as in the case is a car hitting a pole. And also, the top tier of the operator pyramid, external circumstances that may affect this given situation. The operator can take a step back after the circuit lockout and this motor vehicle accident occurred and take a look at the weather patterns and realize that if this is occurring in the middle of a storm, then the operator can realize that, hey, you know what, given the severity of the storm that's actually rolling through, if that's what's happening, then the operator can estimate that, you know what, we're probably going to have more circuit lockouts because of the storm that's coming out. Since we're already going to be calling out a crew, maybe we're probably going to have to call another crew to come in. Depending on the severity of the storm, we're probably going to have other issues and problem situations occur, so we may need additional staffing. We may need to call additional personnel. Also, as part of that top tier, if there is some sort of transmission line being affected by this motor vehicle accident, coordination may probably have to be done with a neighboring transmission operator, and it'll be able to de-energize, isolate, and that transmission line. We may able to have to reach out with the neighboring transmission operator, get their help, asking them to de-energize probably breakers on their end. There's various scenarios, various possibilities that could occur just within any given situation. But having a good understanding of each of the four levels of the operator pyramid, then the operator can utilize that information, that experience, that knowledge from the operator pyramid to provide a good future um, future projection of what may or may not happen, and or what could and could not possibly happen, and or what should and should not happen in any given situation. With all that information from the level 1, level 2, and level 3, then the operator can then start making some better and wiser decisions and choices. So that way, the more experienced operators will be able to notice and see that their decision making is far better, far more detailed, far more advanced, far more thorough, and far more reliable because of all these things that I've detailed.